The headlines were screaming and the world was holding its breath. The Strait of Hormuz was all over the news. Oil prices were spiking, markets were panicking, and everyone was asking the same question. What the heck is going on down there? Turns out a single narrow strip of water had the power to shake the global economy. Welcome to the world of choke points. The places where trade flows get squeezed into tiny fragile bottlenecks. And if one breaks, the entire system trembles. During the summer 2025 crisis, it all started with a war. Israel and Iran clashed in what became known as the 12-Day War. And suddenly everyone was talking about the Strait of Hormuz. We googled it, we checked maps, we asked friends. And we discovered something shocking. Every single day about 20 million barrels of oil pass through this tiny channel. That's almost 1/5 of the entire world's supply. The strait is just 21 nautical miles wide. That's only 33 kilometers. And yet 40 to 50 massive oil tankers squeeze through here daily. Imagine an ocean traffic jam where every car carries billions of dollars worth of fuel. If that strait were ever blocked or slowed down, the entire global economy would feel it. Gas prices would soar, shipping routes would collapse, and entire industries would stall overnight. That's why governments, military alliances, and corporations are obsessed with these places. And the Strait of Hormuz is just one of many. Choke points are the hidden veins of our planet. They are the narrow passages where ships must pass because there's no alternative route. There are only about a dozen truly critical ones. But they're the backbone of the 80 to 90% of global trade that travels by sea. Think about that for a second. We live in a world where we buy phones, groceries, and cars assuming they just magically arrive. But in reality, almost everything we consume has traveled across oceans. In 2024, global maritime traffic hit 12.3 billion tons. That's billions of tons of oil, food, electronics, furniture, and raw materials. And all of it depends on about a dozen fragile bottlenecks. Picture it like this. The planet is covered with around 109,000 ships in 2025. Cargo ships, tankers, fishing fleets, and giant container vessels. And they don't wander randomly like ants on water. They move along invisible highways. Straight lines across oceans connecting the biggest economies on Earth. On a global map, those shipping routes look like red veins pulsing with life. And you'll notice something immediately. They all converge on a few tiny spots. These are the choke points. The places where hundreds of ships must line up like cars on a one-lane bridge. Some choke points are peaceful. Take the English Channel or the Rizun Strait near Denmark. These are politically cold areas with stable governments and friendly neighbors. But others are ticking time bombs. And to understand why, we need to follow one of the most important trade routes on the planet. It starts in Europe and runs all the way to East Asia. Along the way it passes Gibraltar, the Suez Canal, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the Indian Ocean. Then through the Strait of Malacca, the South China Sea, and finally the Taiwan Strait. This route is about 10,800 nautical miles long. At a normal 12 knots it takes roughly 37 days to complete. But that's assuming nothing goes wrong. And something often goes wrong. Let's talk about the Suez Canal. This 62-mile artificial waterway in Egypt connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. It's one of the most important arteries of global trade. But history has shown us how fragile it really is. In 1956, during the Suez Crisis, the canal was shut down because of war. Again in 1967 it closed and stayed closed for 8 long years. That one closure reshaped the entire oil industry. Since tankers had to sail around Africa, companies built gigantic supertankers. Massive ships over 300 meters long and 60 meters wide. So big that even when the canal reopened they couldn't fit through it. To this day many of those ships still sail around Africa instead. But wars aren't the only problem. Accidents happen too. On March 23, 2021, a massive container ship called the Ever Given got stuck sideways in the canal. For 6 straight days one of the most important shipping routes on Earth was blocked. 400 ships piled up waiting to pass. Companies lost an estimated $10 million per day. It was like watching the entire global economy hit pause. And that was just one accident. Now imagine something worse. Because just south of there lies another choke point with an ominous name. Bab el-Mandeb. In Arabic it literally means Gate of Tears. And for good reason. Between 2005 and 2012 Somali pirates made this area infamous. Cargo ships were hijacked, ransoms were demanded, and insurance prices skyrocketed. Then in November 2023 the danger escalated. The Houthi militant group from Yemen began attacking merchant vessels, using drones, ballistic missiles, and small boats. Suddenly Bab el-Mandeb wasn't just a pirate problem. It was a geopolitical flashpoint. To secure the area, global powers built bases in Djibouti. The tiny African nation now hosts military forces from the US, China, France, Italy, Japan, Germany, and Spain. 7 foreign militaries all crammed into one small country. Why? Because controlling Bab el-Mandeb means controlling one of the most strategic gates on Earth. But this is just one chapter of the story. Travel further east and you hit Sri Lanka. South of the island the ocean becomes a parking lot for ships. It's where vessels from Europe carrying containers merge with oil tankers from the Persian Gulf. From there they squeeze through another legendary choke point, the Strait of Malacca. This narrow strip between Malaysia and Indonesia carries about a quarter of the world's traded goods. It's shallow, crowded and risky. Ships must slow down, making them easy targets for pirates. For decades this place has been a hotspot for attacks. And yet despite the risks, almost no one can avoid it. If Malacca shuts down, Asian economies grind to a halt. And then there's the Panama Canal, an engineering masterpiece that connects the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. It handles ships up to 366 meters long and 49 meters wide. But here's the catch. The canal relies on a man-made lake called Lake Gatun for water. And in 2023 an unprecedented drought hit. Lake levels dropped so low that canal traffic had to be cut by a third. One dry year and global shipping slowed. That's the thing about choke points. They're not just about oil or containers. They're about the fragility of the entire system. A single stuck ship, a single attack, a single drought, and the ripple effects hit every single one of us. When you buy a phone from California, when you fill up your car in London, when you drink coffee shipped from Brazil, you're connected to these tiny fragile bottlenecks whether you realize it or not. Geopolitics at tea time sounds like a fancy academic thing, but it's not. It's about understanding where your gas prices come from, why your Amazon package is delayed, and why a drought thousands of miles away can spike food costs in your supermarket. These choke points are the hidden pressure valves of the modern world. They're small, they're vulnerable, and they're absolutely essential. And as competition between nations heats up, keeping an eye on them isn't just smart, it's survival. So next time you hear a headline about Hormuz, Malacca or Suez, you'll know why the world is watching. And maybe the better question is, how long before one of these fragile arteries finally snaps? Because when it does, the entire system changes overnight.